Yes, so my people, I am live, and I just take this time to talk about God regretting versus man regretting. If you look at God regretting versus man regretting, is it the same? Is is God regretting something the same as man regretting a thing? So So we have the EF Dawa boys without the ninnyhammer called Hamza Mayat. So he's not there, but you have um, three EF Dawa boys versus one Jew, and what they're talking about, I guess, is the attribute of God, and the Muslim are saying God could never be all knowing if he regrets something. And that's to me is totally illogical, because it depends on how God regret. And if you look at the way you view God versus the way you view man, and how do we view God, you know, um, and how do we view mankind? Is Do we view God in the same light as we view mankind? Do we see God's action in the same light as we view mankind action? Because there is, even with mankind, there is two ways that a man can regret something. A man can regret something knowing that he before he do it, that he would regret it. That doesn't take away his knowledge that he foreknew that he would regret something, you know um or something could happen which a man have sufficient knowledge that it would happen, but he still regret when it happened. When it actually happened in real time, then uh he have remorse and regret for what happened. Um I will give you some instances as we go along. So let's get into this video. Let's look at this is very kind of one of the serious issue, because we will see where the God of the Quran is not the real God, because even when the Muslim find objection against the real God, the God of the Bible, I say, why does God regret if he have full knowledge of things? Why does he regret things? We will see that while they are dialoguing, they're actually revealing that their God is not the real God. Because a Muslim have this thing of trying to uh, put their God above where their God actually is. Like, the way the Quran reveal their God, they actually put their God above the way the Quran reveal their God. And we will see, even from the Quran, we read into the Quran and we will see that uh, when you see from the Quran, you see something very sketchy about their God. Um, but let's get into the video so we could dialogue as we could dialogue. When I say dialogue, because I do take the comment of the people watching, and I display the comments so that everybody partake. So here we go. So let's share this video here, and okay, so here is the video. So if you look from the screen here, you will see this Muslim from the EF Dawa. There's another Muslim here from the EF Dawa. And behind this Muslim is a sheikh, is a Muslim sheikh from who's often on the EF Dawa team. And then you have Joshua, who is the the Jew, young man who is a Jew, who make a whole lot more sense than all these Abduls put together. But in their mind, they will believe that they make more sense than he does, because the narrow way of thinking of a Muslim. A Muslim, I do believe, a real practicing Muslim, a person who actually indulge into the religion of Islam, not the person who pray 5 times a day. I'm talking a person who have to defend this religion. They give up their brain, their critical thinking, just to promote this nonsense called Islam. So let's get from the beginning.
Whilst also bearing in mind that he isn't physical.
In the case of God's actions having negative consequences, you're either saying God did not foresee it, or you're saying that he didn't know what he was doing.
Do you hear what he says? Let's play it right back over so we could hear fully what this guy says.
In order to understand God, we need to use physical, whilst also bearing in mind that he isn't physical.
In the case of
So Joshua is saying that in order to understand God, sometimes we have to use the physical things, the things that we can see in nature. We can use nature to understand some things about God, which is so truthful. We can use nature to understand many, many things about God. And one of the most important thing in nature that we could use to understand so many things about God is humankind, because according to Islam and according to Christianity and Judaism, man is created in the image of God and the image of the fake God Allah. So Islam teaches that man is created in the image of the fake God Allah, their God, and Christianity teaches that man is created in the image of God. Judaism also teaches that man is created in the image of God. So a lot of things that we see in life, and David Wood recently make a video about the image of God that is one of the best video I've seen in a long time. A lot of things that we can understand about God, we can look into humanity and see these things about God, because what? We are in God's image. God is not in our image. And you will hear the sheikh say something so stupid that, but we're going to use the Quran to show that Allah is nothing but the imagination of a man. Because of what he says, I had to go to the Quran to show that Allah is nothing but the imagination of a man. So let's continue with this guy here.
God's actions having negative consequences, you're either saying God did not foresee it.
Do you see? He said, if God action have negative consequences, that means God did not foresee it. And that's stupid. God's action have negative consequences. Did you know that when Pharaoh, I don't know where he's going with this, but when Pharaoh hardened his heart, did you know that it was God's action that caused Pharaoh to harden his heart? And that's why God could say, I will harden his heart. But then another verse of the Bible says that Pharaoh hardened his heart, because God's action trigger causes the Pharaoh to harden his heart. The more God show Pharaoh his power, the more Pharaoh harden his own heart. But the hardness of Pharaoh's heart is attributed to God, because God is the one. The action of God causes that hardness, to bring out that hardness. So did God not know that he would that would happen to Pharaoh? Yes, he knows. So I don't know what he mean when he said the consequences of God's action. That means that God didn't know something, or what? I don't know.
Or you're saying that he didn't know what he was doing.
And just listen to what he's saying, and if you don't see that he's actually repeating himself.
Consequences, you're either saying
That he isn't physical.
In the case of God's actions having negative consequences, you're either saying God did not foresee it, or you're saying that he didn't know what he was doing.
If God didn't foresee something and God didn't know what he was doing, isn't that the same thing? Sometimes they speak and they don't know. Because if I can foresee something, that means I know what I'm doing. So if God did not know what he's doing, then he couldn't foresee something. Do you see? It doesn't make any sense. He just want to talk. You know, they have these things in their mind, the stupidity in their mind, and it must come out. The stupidity must come out.
Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, by the way, he discussed this with those philosophers who said they put that to compare to God. They said whatever is a human thing, which is a perfect thing for a human being, then it may apply to God.
If an outcome happens that you're not happy with,
Yes.
that you're not happy with, what that means is that you wish you did it a different way, and that's what.
Do you see this? This guy is one of the biggest idiots on the old panel of the EF Dawa, to be real with you. Hamza Mayat is an idiot. We know that. I heard he's no longer on there. I don't know if that's true. But this guy is one of the biggest idiots. If something happened that you're not happy with, you know, just to make sure that we're getting him correctly, let's go back over.
That you're not happy with,
Yes.
that you're not happy with. What that means is that you wish you did it a different way.
No, that's not true. You know, if I have a child and the child is doing something bad, and I have to punish that child, and I regret punishing that child, does that mean that I wish I had done the punishment another way? No. I would do it over and over the same way, but I will always regret having to punish that child. It's just, you know, even man can have these emotions. God is complex. So, you know, God is way more complex than man. So if man can have these emotions, what about God? You know, and this is what these Abduls that are not realizing, that man is created in the image of God. It's not the other way around. So a lot of things that we exhibit, God exhibit something similar, but maybe not totally the way we do it, because we doesn't have God's foreknowledge, and foreknowledge doesn't take away emotion in real time. You know, because I could have foreknowledge, say, for example, my father's dead, and I know that my father is going to die from his disease, even though I have full knowledge that it won't be long before my father died. When my father died, did I regret my father's death? Yes, even though I have knowledge that he's going to die. And I have knowledge that he's going to die because of his situation. There is nobody that, unless something miraculous come from God, can change his situation. There is no way his situation could have changed because of how advanced his disease was. And even though I am a nurse and I have all these knowledge of all these things, when these things happen, what you're gonna do? You're gonna regret these things happen, and it's gonna stay with you for a long, long time. But even though you know that it is gonna happen, you birth a child, and you know that the child is not gonna live forever. But when that child dies, do you cry? Do you regret the death of the child? Yes. In Nigeria the other day, the Muslim killed this woman. Was the woman supposed to live forever? No, she was not supposed to live forever. But when she died, people regret her death. They regret the way she dies, and they regret also her death. Because our foreknowledge, even though we are human being, our foreknowledge doesn't stop our regret. It doesn't stop our regret. And God's regret is not the same way as our regret. It's not the same way. It's not based on not knowing. God's regret is totally different from our regret. It's not based on God not knowing. It's just something. Emotion is based on. When I said emotion, the English language is not enough to describe how God function and how God perform his work. So we have to use words within the English language, and sometimes these words are inappropriate. But if you are a narrow-minded person, you will take these things to mean literally exactly how it's applied to man. But it's not that way. I will show a video of a rabbi and the way he understands it. So let's continue here.
And that's where the regret comes in. And what we're saying is that the majesty of Allah is that he does everything with perfection.
So he's saying the majesty of Allah, Allah does everything with perfection. When we go to the Quran, do we see Allah doing things in perfection? No, we don't see Allah doing things in perfection. We see a stupid kind of poetry in the Quran where Allah is commanding creation to do things willingly or by compulsion. Even in creation, we see where Allah is saying, come together willingly or by compulsion. It just show that all we are seeing is stupid poetry, not really things that cognitively make sense, because you're telling the creation to come together willingly. Creation should come together willingly, or you will compel them to come together. And you're talking about creation that doesn't have a brain to think, or free will to do things that, like the mountain. You said to the heaven and the earth, come together willingly or by compulsion. Does the heaven have free will to choose not to come together? And in the process of creation, you find that in the Quran 33 verse 72. So you see, what these Muslims are attributing to their God doesn't even make sense. And if you go to Surah 2 and you read from verse 30 to maybe verse 33 or verse something like that, when you go there, what do you see? Total nonsense. Like when I say total nonsense, if you go there, you will see something that literally is I don't even know how to describe it. Total nonsense. So let's read this. When your Lord said to the angels, I am placing a successor on the earth, they said, will you place in it someone who will cause corruption in it and bloodshed while we declare your praises and sanctify you? He said, I know what you do not know. So Allah is saying that he know what these angels do not know. But what did the angel say? Will you place someone in it that cause corruption and bloodshed? Was the angel lying? When the angel says that, were they lying? But Allah is saying, I know what you do not know. What Allah know is the statement of the angel. Is it something that is a lie? What Allah know that the angel did not know? And then look at the stupidity of this so-called God. And he taught Adam the names. So Allah taught Adam the names of the animals, all of them. Then he presented them to the angel and said, tell me their name if you are sincere. So I taught my wife, I make a song, I make a song, and I told my wife the name of the song. And then My son said something to me that is truthful, and I said to my son, tell me the name of my song if you are truthful. Or if you are sincere. Do you see the stupidity that you see in the Quran? That this God knows all things? Does that God sound like he know everything? Or this God is just sound like it's an imagination of a man? So the angels, and then look at the stupidity. And these Muslims say angels don't have free will, but here it is. The angels are contending with Allah. Will you place in it someone who will cause corruption in it and bloodshed while we declare your praises and sanctify you? If the angels don't have free will, how could they come up? How did they come up with that question for Allah? Did Allah just put it into their mind to ask that question and then said to them, I know what you do not know? Do you see that Islam is stupidity? Total stupidity. But anyway, so we go to 32. They said, glory to you. So the angels are stupid. Because this God tell them to tell me the name of the animal. So what make Allah believe that he know more than the angel is because he know more the names of the animal that he himself named. So I know I'm more mightier than my father because I know the name of my son that I named without, and I did not tell my father the name of my son. So I'm more mightier than my father because I know the name of my son. My son born, say I have a son, my son was born yesterday, and I wait until yesterday, then I name my son. And then I believe that I am mightier than my father because I know the name of my son, and my father don't know the name of my son. Islam is like this empty cup, man. Make no sense. So look, we have no knowledge except that what you have taught us. So according to these angels, we have no knowledge except what you have taught us. So who told them that are you that Allah, that the man will cause corruption and bloodshed? Who told them that? Allah. And who told them to question Allah? The whole Quran is something stupid. Who told them? Notice what the angel says. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. So who taught them the knowledge of questioning Allah? Allah taught them the knowledge to question him. If it is you who are knowledgeable, the wise, do you see that this comes from the head of a stupid person? The old thing, if you look at this old thing right here, it comes from the mind of a stupid person. But let's get back to what this Abdul are saying.
Okay. That's you've thrown me now. I don't
It's not merciful. I will remind you. It's not merciful.
think that Moshe Goss, that he's not merciful, right? Then that would be a deficiency in Moshe Goss.
Right.
Therefore, I can't say about God that he's not merciful. This is the way that the Maimonides looks at it, right?
So you use
And the crazy thing, I've already shown in a video that Allah created mercy according to the Hadith. So they're talking about God not merciful. And the Hadith says Allah created mercy and prescribed for himself. And the Quran said Allah prescribed for himself mercy. So the Hadith is saying that Allah created mercy. And then the Quran is saying that Allah prescribed for himself mercy. So let me see if I could find that just to show you that everything about Islam is nothing but stupidity, senseless babble, and stupidity. That's what Islam is really about. Only a person who don't study Islam take this this thing serious. So let me see if I could find it. So when we look at it, Sahih Muslim 37, book 6629. Abu Hurairah said, I heard Allah Messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, Allah created mercy in 100 parts and he retained with him 99 parts. And he has sent down unto the earth one part, and it is because of this one part that there is mutual love among creation, so much as that the animal lift up its hoofs from its young one, fearing that it might harm it. So here we are. The hadith is saying that Allah created mercy and he keep 99 parts for himself, and he gave one part to the earth. Then you go to Surah 6, verse 12. It says, say to Allah, he decree upon himself mercy. That is Sahih International. Pickthall, say unto Allah, he had prescribed for himself mercy. Yusuf Ali, say to Allah, he had inscribed for himself the role, but he said the role of mercy, but the part that said the role is in parentheses, so you know that he added that because he realized that there is something stupid about this verse, so he have to inject his own thought, and he put 3 words in it to complete the thought of Allah, the role of mercy. But if you go to Shakir, say to Allah, he ordained mercy on himself. Mushin Khan, to say to Allah, he prescribed mercy for himself. Or Berry, say it is God, he has prescribed for himself mercy. So Allah created mercy and he prescribed mercy for himself. You just see that Islam is just total stupidity. Like overall, anybody study this religion know that it's total stupidity.
The human to understand God, basically.
Yes, because that's all you
Shouldn't
can.
it be allowed?
Don't you think the other way around should be?
What you should?
Shouldn't God be independent of the human?
Wait, hold on.
Do you see how stupid this idiot is? Shouldn't God be independent of the human characteristic when man is created in the image of God? Do you see this is a dumb bastard? Shouldn't God be independent of the human characteristic when man is created in the image of God? God is not created in the image of man. Man is created in the image of God. God is the creator who created man in his image. So who is the dependent? Man or God? Man is the dependent. So when man bears certain characteristic of God, it's because he is in the image of God. This is a dumb bastard. He need an eyeglass for his ears. All these years, this idiot running around Christianity talking nonsense, and he don't learn these things already. He need an eyeglass for his ears, man. His ears is not seeing well. For real. You know, something is wrong with this guy.
Other way around is to understand God based on the other way around is to understand humans based on God.
No,
God tells us to understand.
For example, yes.
How we should understand human is also from God, isn't it? Like, for example, he tells us.
So he said we should understand human from God. When Muhammad was saying that man is created in the image of Allah, what was he talking about? What was he talking about? As I say before, you could study man and see things of God within man. You study God because by his revelation, and you also study man and see the image of God in man. You could see the image of God in man. I tell you, David Wood make a video the other day, and I don't know how many people watch that video, but I watch it twice because of how I think how important it is. Just let me see if I could find it just to show you Acts 17, to show you what I gather and how it explains so much about the image of God. Let me see if I can find it. Sometimes it's okay, I think this is the one. So let's get into it. Let's just show a little part of it, just to show you what we can learn from studying man. Shalom, great commissioner, and my sister Dragon. How are you doing? Crunchy, thank you, man. Thank you for being here. And so when we look at what David would reveal from the wisdom of God. So the video is called Aborting the Image of God. I think this is the one, Aborting the Image of God. So let's get into it.
I was almost aborted. My mom got pregnant with me when she was 15. My dad was 17 at the time, and he was a drug dealer. So having an abortion, getting rid of this old lump of cells, would have been a pretty convenient move for both of them. My mom got pregnant again a year or two after she had me, and she had an abortion then. So they took out one of my siblings. My mom and her sister combined got pregnant 5 times when they were in their teens. They had 3 abortions, and me and my cousin Brandy. 40% survival rate for the original 5. My mom had another abortion when I was a teenager, another sibling gone, and then she had my 2 brothers. I'm glad my mom didn't abort me because I had some pretty dope stuff to do, as you're about to see.
Oh, man. I love this dude.
In this very video. Now, the abortion debate usually centers around issues like when human personhood begins and what rights a woman has over what goes on in her own body. But as with most moral debates, I think about this in terms of imaging God and degrading the image of God. Let's read a quick passage from the opening chapter of the Bible, Genesis 1, verses 26 through 28. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Now, in my video, Norm Macdonald, The Image of God, we discussed what it means to be created in the image of God. The Bible never gives a clear explanation of what the phrase image of God means, but when we examine the main passage in Genesis 1, we see that it has something to do with 3 relationships: man's relationship with God, man's relationship with other human beings, and man's relationship with nature. Human beings, both male and female, can image God in these relationships. In another video, Mark Zuckerberg, The Image of...
So you see what David says, man can image God in their life. So you could look at man, especially a righteous man. You could look at a righteous man and you could see God within that man. You could see the image of God within that man, and then you could reflect on God, because I've done it before, where you see something from a human being and you'll be like, wow, this is the image of God. This is the kindness of God. This is the love of God manifesting to this man. But Muslims will never understand these things because they are not on this level. You know, what Muslims try to do, even though you could go and read the hadith of their because Muhammad was so physical in everything that Muhammad do. Muhammad was so physical. There was nothing spiritual about Muhammad. So when Muhammad says things like Allah created Adam in his image, he was 60 cubit tall. So Adam was 60 cubit tall when he created him. He said, go and greet the group of angels. So literally, Muhammad is maybe thinking that Allah is 60 cubit tall. You know, because this is how narrow-minded Muhammad was. When he heard the word, he copied from the Bible and see God created man in his image. He only think of the physical. He only can think of the total physical, but not in a spiritual way, or even in a physical and a spiritual way. So he says, here is Muhammad again. When any of you fight his brother, let him avoid the face, for Allah created Adam in his image. So you see again, Muhammad talking about the image, but yet still he don't know. Let him not hit the brother in the face, because Allah creates. So the physical. So Allah is literally looking like a man. Even though these Muslims would say, oh, Allah don't look like anything, Allah is unlike anything. But Muhammad is actually telling them that Allah look like a man, because a man is created in the image of Allah. And even to seal this deal, he says, Muhammad says, do not say Allah deform your face, for the son of Adam was created in the image of the most merciful. Do you see? Created in the image of the most merciful. That what means? What does that mean? That you look like Allah. That man actually looked like Allah, because man was created in the image of Allah. The messenger of Allah, peace and blessing, says, when any of you fight, let him avoid the face, for Allah created Adam in the image of his face. You know, see, so you see all these things.
Of God, we saw another important component of the doctrine drawn from the larger context of Genesis 1. The passage about man being created in God's image is immediately preceded by God creating the universe. God creates, God creates, God creates, God creates, God creates, God creates, and then God creates man in his image after his likeness. One possible implication of the passage in context is that man is supposed to image God in creating, like when we make epic videos. But now we're going to look at another way human beings image God, namely in producing children. In Genesis chapter 5, we read, "This is the book of the generations of Adam. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. Male and female he created them, and he blessed them and named them man when they were created. When Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own likeness after his image and named him Seth. God created man in his likeness. Then Adam fathered a son in his own likeness after his image." I've seen a lot of people claim that when the Bible says Adam fathered a son in his own likeness, it means that Adam's offspring were no longer the image of God because of sin and the fall. So Adam and Eve were created in the image of God, but they sinned, so their children were no longer the image of God. But we can't agree with an interpretation that contradicts what other passages about the image of God say, and Genesis 9:6 and James 3:9 say that people long after sin and the fall are still created in the image and likeness of God. At most, you could say that since Adam fathers a son in his own likeness, he fathers a son who no longer images God properly, even though he's still the image of God. You could also say that since Adam's descendants are the image of God and the image of Adam, we're constantly confronted with a choice. The choice of whether to image God in our relationships with others or to image Adam in those relationships. When we image God, we somehow reflect the eternal nature of God.
Do you see that? The Muslims will never have that kind of a theology, because even though they pirate from the Bible, Muhammad was pirating from the Bible, you can see that the understanding of Muhammad was not even, and a so-called prophet was not even on the level of David. The understanding of a so-called prophet, Muhammad, was not on the level of David.
Good and evil.
Yeah.
How to identify good and evil.
How we identify
Otherwise,
good and-
everyone will have their own subjective understanding of humans, Like they'll say, oh, Stalin is a good person for some people because he treats them nicely. And the people he treats them evil, they say, oh, he's an evil person. Subjectively, they're both correct.
Do you really want to go there?
You see the
Do you see what this guy doesn't even make any sense? Because how do you define when a man is in the image of God based on how God revealed himself, based on him following God's commandment? Because if you're following God's commandment, then you will stay within the image of God. If you are outside of God's commandment, who are you imaging? As David revealed, you're more likely imaging Adam who fall, Adam who sin. Even though you might have some of the image of God in you, you're actually you can be imaging God and Adam at the very same time, because there is God's innate, the innate things that God creates you with, that even though if you don't have a mental issue, you should know there's an innate what should I say, inclination for most people to do things that are right, even though they might not follow God, the Bible itself, follow the commandment. But you will see when people go out here and they feed the poor, even though they are atheists and they feed the poor, it is within a lot of us, innate in us, to do things like that. Not that we are doing it on our own accord, but it is imaging God, because that's, you're created in that image. You're created in that image. And even though the atheists believe that he is doing it on his own and it's within most of us, to do things that are godly, even though we disrespect God in other ways, but we will do things that are godly. And we could look at these things and say, where did this come from? According to the Creator's word, it came from him, because we are created in the image of God Almighty. And when we do our evil, who are we imitating? Who are we following? We are following, literally, we are following Satan. So we have also another contrasting thing going on there, that is not imaging God the way God wants us to be. So I don't know what this guy was talking about, Stalin, and then laugh, because you know what he's saying don't make no sense.
that's
Do you
my
really
point.
want to go there
If he
with your
wants
God?
to, yeah.
Okay. So
Really?
Oh, it's one of those.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
You do it together now.
That's what I'm saying. Look, God
Actually,
said, do you really want to go there?
I'll be honest,
Josh?
I didn't know where he was going. I'll be honest, because he was talking about Canaanite war gods. I didn't know what he was talking
He's been
about.
gone a long
But
while
that
ago.
It's been gone.
Because that's where your God,
He's been gone a
Oh,
long
okay,
while.
fine. So
that's
it's
where your God
not
comes
quite.
from.
Okay.
He's not one of the Okay, he's one of the atheist kind of guys.
Atheist, confused.
Let's carry on.
Do
Confused.
you want to go
Confused,
into
that's
morality with your God? Really?
Okay.
Really?
Oh, come on.
Do
Listen,
you want to go?
Let's stick to what
Listen,
we're talking about. Let's stick to what
listen.
we're
You shouldn't be
No.
heckler.
Yeah, come on. Let's stick to what we're talking about. Let's not be.
And when you're talking to people, you always find a greater demon in the crowd, like, who want to distract and take things to another level. In everything, you always find a greater demon in the crowd. We understand that the Muslims, they have their own demons, but a greater demon always manifesting when you when you are out here talking to people. See, this guy want to distract from what is being talked about.
Okay, I'll let you finish your point. But Josh, I've got so many questions for you,
So
Josh.
mercy,
I've got a lot of questions
if
for
a
you, Josh.
person does
but
not have
let
mercy,
me
Moshe
finish.
Goss doesn't have mercy. He's deficient. If Moshe Goss is not kind to people, then he's deficient. Now, there's a few other things. He
Really?
would also be deficient
Okay.
in Moshe Goss.
All right.
Bloody
There's a
hell.
few other things about Moshe Goss that would make him deficient. For example, if Moshe Goss didn't have a face,
Are we
He
going
would
somewhere
also be-
with this to
yes,
answer the repentance
I'm
question?
going somewhere with this.
Okay, but to
Right?
answer the repentance,
And do you see this guy? The guy is talking, and he's gonna. Are we going somewhere to answer this? Yes, he's going somewhere, and he's actually gonna put you guys on the spot. But you're so naive to know that you can't see that you are on the spot.
Yes, to answer that. That's
Good.
exactly why I brought up this.
Josh, you really sound like a lawyer now.
This
You're
is
like
ridiculous.
proper. You're getting proper. Like you were
I
very
should
soft
go.
before. Now I see like a bit of fire in there. You know.
Yeah.
Do you see the distraction from what the guy is trying to say? And this is what the Muslim, when they come into these groups, this is what they do. He's talking, and you getting a little fire, because at first they believed this guy was naive and would have succumbed to their stupidity, but now they're seeing that this guy is actually learning, and he's standing up against them. He's getting a little backbone. He's getting tougher. He's standing up against them. He had to show that, yes, this guy is not as soft as we thought this guy was, because I've seen this guy talk to them several times and appear very soft. But now he is actually reasoning with more logic, and reasoning more assertive than he used to be.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
warmed up a
He
bit.
developed.
he has. Yes.
You've got a big book there, Josh. I've got so many
Josh has
questions.
now
Moshe
become a
Goss.
man. Go on,
If
Josh.
Moshe Goss did,
Guys,
if Moshe Goss did
let me
not
finish.
have a face, he would be deficient, which is why we can't talk about God as not having a face, even though we know he's not physical. Right? He's not physical, but we can't save him. He doesn't have a face. Right? We can't say about Moshe Goss that he doesn't have 2 feet, because then he'd be deficient, be a cripple. Right?
I'm getting impatient now.
Right?
I'm going somewhere with this.
Do you see how naive this guy is? Like, anybody with any critical thinking could see where Josh going, but he said he's getting impatient because he's stupid. The guy is trying to get to the point that if you're looking at God and you say God have these characteristic, he's not deficient of any characteristic. He's not deficient of you say he have a hand and a face because you don't want him to look like he's handicapped. You say that's what the guy is saying. So he's getting to the point where he's gonna say, you say that he regrets things because you don't want him to look like he is not emotional. That's where the guy is actually reaching to. And he said, I'm getting impatient now. Because what? They are so much used to the EF Dawa crap that they have, the arena, where they bombard people and they all talk over people, that now that when the platform is like this, it's an open platform where they have no control to mute you and stuff, you have to interject and say, I'm getting impatient.
Or if Moshe Goss does something which doesn't have good consequences,
Yes.
right?
So who's my sugar?
If you didn't want to talk about Fred Brown, talk about Moshe Goss.
Do you see that? These these are like little school kids, man. Little idiots, man. Little school. They're worse than little school kids. They're little idiots. Like, for real. And the reason you can say they're like little school kids and call them little idiots, not that school kids are idiots, because these are grown men behaving like little school kids. So they are idiots. Totally idiots. What is there to laugh about? What does it mean when he use the term that he's using? That's what you should be asking him instead of that. But see, this is the milkshake. But his milkshake bring all the fools to the yard. You see, he's an idiot. Nobody else over here is laughing with this stuff. You see this guy just looking like, what is wrong with him? They are the one discussing with the man, and they can't even keep a straight face because they are idiots.
I can talk about Mohammed bin Salam if you want. That is
Idiots.
care.
No, but so are you saying God has feet and face?
No,
Okay.
I'm saying that we can't say that he doesn't.
But does Islam teach that God, that Allah have feet and stuff? Yes, it does. It does. It literally does. Allah have a shin. And Hutman was asked about Allah's shin. He said Allah will put his feet over hellfire. Literally, the hadith says Allah will put his feet to stop hellfire from eating more Muslims. Allah will put his feet over over the hole. That you see, when they say Adam is created, how many cubit tall? You see why Adam is created in the image of Allah. You see why Muhammad is thinking like that. And then Allah will put this big foot, this big foot that he have, he will plant it over the hole that keep hellfire keep asking, give me more, give me more. You remember the when we were young, I watched this movie called, is it Return of the Living Dead or something like that? It was a long time ago, and the zombies in the movie, they go on they kill the police and then go on the police car what they call it, the radio, and said to the and dial the thing up and said to the police dispatcher, send more cops. So hellfire will be saying, give me more, and Allah will plant his feet, sacrifice his feet, and cover up the hole in hellfire. So as long as Allah live, he can't move from there. Because his feet is sacrificed to the fire of hell. What a stupidity. But to say these Muslims will tell you that Allah don't have feet. Yes, he do have feet. If you're saying that Allah will put his feet over the hellfire, what is it that he put over the hellfire? Huh? What is it that he put over the hellfire? It's ridiculous, man.
But you can't say as well you cannot say he does. You just be in the middle. You don't know.
The way to understand God is in order to think about
until it tells you.
in order to think about
That's
what
proper
we know,
agnostic thinking.
right? In order to understand God, we need to use physical, whilst also bearing in mind that he isn't physical.
Yeah, so Josh, to some extent,
And therefore, the answer is,
Yeah, go on.
if Moshe Gross did something that had negative consequences, and then he did not regret it, we would say that's a bad thing. That's a deficiency in Moshe Gross.
Sorry, if
because
he did something negative and then he regrets it.
he did something with negative consequences.
Okay.
And then he did not regret it. That's a deficiency, because he has not regretted the negative outcomes of something.
So did he do it deliberately? When you say he did something negative consequence,
In
did he
each
do it
one of these
deliberately?
things, he did.
So this Muslim is asking him, which he make a good point there. So, but the Muslim asks him, he says, did he do it deliberately? Okay, let's give you a scenario. I heard my neighbor scream, and so I run out the door, and I got to my neighbor's place, and there is a man in my neighbor's home ravishing and doing whatever he's doing to my neighbor, and I realized that the only way, I might be able to save this person is to kill the person in the house that is in the house doing whatever they're doing to my neighbor. So I killed that person. I know that, hey, to save my neighbor, I have to kill this person. And then after I kill the person, I regret killing the person. Does it mean that I regret my action of killing the person? I regret that the person have to die at my hand. But does it mean that I regret my action of killing the person? No. I regret that someone died, but I don't regret that I kill him to save the lady. See, God have foreknowledge of all things, and he created man, and he chose man. He do and he do things. Appointed man great position on the face of the earth, and he knows that he will regret doing something. He knows that he will regret, even though, like, for example, me in this scenario, I know that I have to kill this person, and I know I will regret killing this person, but I know I have to. I know I have to. It's not that God have to do anything, but God does what pleases him, but that doesn't take away his ability to regret doing what he does. Not that he didn't have foreknowledge of it, but how does he regret? So let's look at the word regret, in light of the word, because sometimes what we do, we don't look at definition of words. So let's look at the word regret and see what we see when we look at the word regret. Because when I look at the word regret, I see more than just say you don't have knowledge about, because I'm regretting doing something because I didn't have knowledge of the outcome. No, you could have knowledge of the outcome and still regret. So what regret means? To feel sad, a feeling of sadness. So this is important that we look at these definitions here, a feeling of sadness. So if you look at the word regret, you see a feeling of sadness. But can you feel sad about something without having something that happened? Because I feel sad about the man's death, so I killed the man, but I knowing that the only way I will save this woman from this man, I have to kill the man. And I regret killing the man after I killed the man. What do I regret? Do I regret that I kill him to save the woman's life? No. I just regret that I have to do this. I regret that I have to do this. I had to kill him. But that doesn't mean that I did not have foreknowledge that, hey, I'm going to kill him. I made up my mind that I'm going to kill him. But I still, at the end, I still regret killing him. It's the same way with God in a lot of ways, that in real time, God shows his emotion in real time. When things happen, God shows his emotion. But does God regret the same way men regret? No, not the same way. God regret with full knowledge that he would regret. Just like I as a human being can do things with full knowledge that I'm going to regret doing it. I've done it before. That, hey, I know I'm giving you this, but I know someone came up to me and said, hey, I'm eating all morning. But then I look at the person, I could see track marks and the person's arm, and I know this person is what they call a dolphin. And I know that the money that I gave to him is, I'm in a rush to get to where I'm going. If I wasn't in a rush, I would say, hey, come on, let me go get you something to eat. But I'm in a rush to get to where I'm going. I have no time to go get him something to eat. But at the same time, I feel it was my duty to give him something to eat. And he took that money and he went and buy drugs with that money. Do I regret doing what I did? Yes, I regret, but I have full knowledge that might be what he want. He want the money for. I have full knowledge of that he's a dolphin and that he will use your money to do it. But God's knowledge is vast more knowledge than I do. But even though I have that knowledge, I still regret. Like, man, you know, why did I give him the money? But do I really, would I give him the money again? Yes, I would, because you don't know when, my knowledge, I don't know if it's food or not. But God's knowledge, as I say, you still could regret something knowing what the outcome can be. As I use the case that, hey, I killed the man because I wanted to kill him to save the woman. But yet still, after his death, I regret his death. You know, Muslims don't really think about these issues. They so let's look at, go back to the video. So when we see regret mean, look at the word regret as I'm showing you here. The word regret doesn't have only one meaning. It means feel sad. You could feel sad about something that you know you would feel sad about. You could do something knowing that you would be sad about it. But it is something, a part of your plan. It is a part of the plan of God. But when but God could still be saddened by his own plan. It was my plan to kill the man, because I don't just jump on the man and kill the man. I think about it like, man, how am I going to stop him from doing what he's doing? You know, you walk in and the man have a knife, stab the woman once, stab the woman, and about to stab the woman. What do you think you're going to do? You have a gun. Bam. Did you plan to kill the man? Yes, you did. But at the end of the day, are you going to regret? You're going to have any form of sadness killing this man? Are you going to have any form of sadness for killing this man? Yes, you are going to have. You're going to feel sad about killing him. You know? But feel sorrow for the last absence. Are you going to feel sorrow for the loss of his life? But at the same time, do you feel sorry for your action of killing him? No. You just feel sorry for the loss of his life. Like, you know, and in similar ways, that's the way God operate, and in but still more complex way than us. And we will show you that it's not that God regret because he doesn't know something. Even from the Bible itself, he regrets because it is in his nature. It's in his nature to have emotions about things, and not because he didn't know the outcome of things. And sometimes words are written in our language because our language doesn't have words to describe another word to describe what God, the reaction of God to things. You know, it's like we're talking about the Trinity and we use the word person. for the Trinity, but it's because we are using our language to speak about God, but everything we speak about God, we have to use our language as much as possible to speak about God, because that's the language we speak. But not everything in our language can grasp God and explain God to the fullness, because God, let me actually show you something that a Muslim a Muslim say about God, just to show you how Muslims think one way and think different, the way they think about stuff. One Muslim say this, another Muslim say that. Is just so the question is asked, and this is Kura, if that's the way to spell it. Does Allah have emotions? So you see where the question is asked, does Allah have emotions? And let me show you something that one say. At the bottom here, let's look at this. The guy says, also, we are very careful when it relates to the attribute of Allah. We say Allah loves, but we never use the word emotion or feeling because they were not mentioned in the Quran, and we stick. We strictly stick to the Quran or hadith terms. So what he's actually saying, that it is only the way God explained himself that you can use to, and only the way Allah explained himself that you can use to attribute Allah, or the way Muhammad explained this God, because we know there is no God called Allah of the Quran. So only the way that Muhammad explained this God can be used to describe this God. Just the same way, only the way the Bible explains God. So if the Bible is saying that God is all-knowing, what does it mean when it says God regrets something? Does it mean that he did something and not knowing that he would, what the outcome would be? No. You have to look at it in line of what the Bible is saying, that it has an alternative meaning when it comes to God. When it comes to God, it have an alternative meaning. And this is kind of blur when you do that. I don't know why. Okay. But anyway, so let's get back into the video. We just want to show something, and then I let a rabbi explain something real fast. Then we does God. Okay.
Right? He did it, right? And there were negative consequences. Or maybe he did not.
But that would be sin, right? That would be sin. What are you defining as sin?
Fine.
What do you mean fine?
Do you see what this guy said? So when God do something deliberately, does it define it as sin? Oh my God. What an idiot, man. What standard is above God's standard? What standard is set that put judgment on God, so that God do something and you call it sin? Do you see how stupid this guy is, man? So God is doing something and you call what God does sin. Naive idiot, man. The guy,
in each one of these things, he did it deliberately, right? He did it, right? And there were negative consequences. Or maybe he did not.
But that would be sin, right?
So if God do something deliberately, it is it is sin. Wow. You see what an idiot this guy is. So God, hold on, man. This guy is a donkey, man.
Deliberately. When you say something negative consequence,
in each one of these.
So God did something and it results in a negative consequence. Like, okay, God chose Saul as a king and Saul disappoint God. So the negative consequence is Saul disappointing God. And he's saying that did God choose Saul deliberately, knowing that this negative consequence would occur? And then he says that's a sin on God's part. What an idiotic donkey. Man, this guy right here, man. What an idiot. So God did something knowing the outcome of the thing, and he did it. Everything God do, he do it deliberately. There is nothing that God does that he doesn't do deliberately. Everything that God does is done deliberately. So God chose Saul as a king with foreknowledge that Saul would do evil. And this guy is saying that if God do it deliberately, then that's a sin. Where is the standard? Can this idiotic Muslim show me the standard that is above God's standard? And like, this is what the idiot is saying. So in America, let me just put it, let me just put it this way. And you can't take God out of the picture, but let's just talk about secular law without talking about God's law. So in America, you're drunk driving. You're drunk driving, and if you're drunk driving, there's a deliberate law, a deliberate law. Not even drunk driving. Let's say capital murder. You walk into a house and you kill somebody and all that. The deliberate law is that you're gonna die. So if God, the people who kill you is whose judgment the government kills you. Is there another government inside the United States that is bigger than the United States federal government, that is above the United States federal government, or that is going to punish the person who kill you for breaking the law of the land? No. This is the same way with God. God is the ultimate law. God is the ultimate law. So whose law is above God's law to judge God and say, hey, God committed sin? This guy is an idiot, man. What a stupid donkey.
Things. He did it deliberately, right? He did it, right? And there were negative consequences. Or maybe he did not.
But that would be sin, right? That would be sin. What are you defining as sin?
Fine.
He said, what you're defining is sin. Sin and who's... Wow. And these are the donkeys that have these shows and call him Christian on these shows to attack. With the donkeys, they don't even have the mind to think critically. You know? And one of the other two Dawa donkey, there's two more Dawa donkeys here. There's one here and one hiding behind here. And not even they can say to the other, no, that would not be sin. You know, they allow him to just utter the stupidest thing that come from your mouth. Like, what standard is above God's standard that judge God and say, oh, God committed sin? Wow. Whose cousin is this? Somebody come get your stupid cousin. Man, this guy is a donkey.
Fine.
What do you mean fine?
The point I'm making
Max, you're going to
is...
say God is sinning.
No, I'm not.
He said the guy is saying God is sinning. See, guy is an idiot. That God is sinning. And who is the judge for God? These are the reason we know that the Quran is a book of man. When the Quran says, write a verse like Allah write a verse. If you believe that Muhammad is lying, then write a verse like Allah write a verse. Guess what happened now? The Quran is actually giving humankind the ability to judge God. You know, the Quran is giving humankind the power to judge God, so quote unquote God. Because what? If the Quran is saying, write a verse like this if you can, then who's going to be the judge? Who's going to be the judge of whether someone write a verse like Allah? Is Allah going to be his own judge? Or it's got to be, if two people are in a competition, who the judge going to be? A third party. And this is why you know the Quran is from a man's head, because you will never find that kind of stuff in the Bible. God proved that he is. There was a time in the Bible where the prophet of God, to prove God, called fire from heaven to the altar. That's how God proved himself. Moses proved God. How did Moses prove God? Moses proved God by the supernatural things controlling nature that God does, because God is the God of creation, so he controls creation. Jesus proved God by controlling nature, bringing life to the dead. Satan cannot bring life to the dead because only God gives life. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life, and only God can give life. So when you see these things, then that's how God proved himself. But when you look and you hear somebody, when I was younger, man, I used to be in reggae. And when I put my pen, I get a beat and I listen to this beat and I put my pen to the paper and I'm writing and going along with the beat, and I'm writing and I'm going along and changing until when I perfect the song and I get it together, then I sit down and I get on the beat. And a lot of times we go out in the street under the street light, and all the little artists come together and we just go at it. Who is the best? We call it a clash. And we say, who is the best? It's my verse against your verses. My verses against your verses. Do you see Allah find himself in the same category as I was, writing verses and competing with other people? So when Allah is competing with man, what Allah is doing, Allah is putting himself on the level of a man. So what it does is tell you, God is revealing Allah, the real God, Jehovah, is revealing Allah as a man. Because God would never say, hey, write a verse, write like me. God is going to tell you, man, if you are a creator, create this. Because he know you can't do it. God is going to tell you, if you are a creator, do what I do. If you believe, God is saying that, who was there when I did this, when I did this, when I did this? And God is showing you through his messenger that he really did these things. Moses show you that God really did these things. Moses was asked to touch a rock and water will come forth, even though he struck the rock. That's not what he was asked. He said, touch the rock. But water did come from the rock. Moses was asked to stretch forth his rod, and the ocean will become dry land so that they could pass through. And Moses did that. We see the plagues. We see the angel of death. What have we seen from Muhammad that make me believe that Muhammad God is God? Nothing at all. Nothing, nowhere where he control nature. These idiots talk about the splitting of the moon when the Quran is saying there is the only sign they will get is the Quran itself. So we see that they are lying. In order to make Muhammad look like he did something and his God is powerful, they invent all kind of stories. But we don't see these things in the Quran. We don't see these things in the Quran. What we see in the Quran is the God in a competition with people to write verses like he write verses. There's a reggae artist called Bounty Killer. He's always in a competition with Beanie Man when I was growing up. about who write the better lyrics. We see Tupac and Biggie Small, who people saying who was the better artist. We see all these what they call them, ciphers, and all these what they call this stuff they used to have back in the days when I used to watch these things. What they call it, battle rapping, where they battle against each other for sometimes for money. Allah is a battle rapper. Allah is like Nas and Jay-Z. Allah is competition with creation. You know, so Allah is a creation, just like, you know, because why would God be in a competition with the creator, with his creation, to the point where he's saying, right like me.
Listen.
That's
Well, let him finish. And then
Josh,
Hashim come in and check.
the idea to have a higher clarity about consequences of actions is something which is inherently not a deficiency.
Does
And
God have
that's
consequences
why-
for his negative
And
actions?
that's why
Do you see the fool? Does God have consequences for his negative action? God doesn't make any negative action. Everything that God do is positive. What happened is this: man's negativity is what brought about this word that is translated to mean neglect, regret. Sorry, man's action bring about God's regret. You know, not God's sadness. You know, it's man actions that bring about that sadness in real time. God know he would be sad, but in real time, when the action happen in real time, is like me. I have knowledge that my mom is sick, and I might be traveling in a plane, you know, or somewhere, you know. I have knowledge of my mom, and I might be traveling in a plane. I might be traveling somewhere, you know, or I have knowledge of, say, a friend, whoever is sick, and I might be traveling to a plane to go to the friend's home, and I know the friend is sick. I know the friend is sick, and somebody even maybe send me a picture of the friend on a ventilator, you know, in the hospital, but I'm going to see this friend, and I'm traveling, and I have this sadness within me, but it is not manifested in certain ways yet. So I travel and I got there. So in real time, when I see the person, then I started crying, and I exhibit my sadness, openly exhibit my sadness. I do believe that God created us, and because we have free will, we choose whatever we want to do, and God have the sadness, you know, because I show you that the word regret doesn't have to mean that, oh, you know, I shouldn't have, you know, I shouldn't have. It could mean that I'm sad about creating this person. I'm sad about choosing this person as king, you know, or something like that. But what I'm saying is this: when I get to that person that is sick, that's when the sadness is fully manifested. I do believe that God have that sadness for us from eternity, because he knows what we will do from eternity. But his sadness is manifested in real time. He spoke of his sadness in real time when things occur. When things occur, God do things knowing you would be sad about it, knowing you would regret, in the sense they translate it to mean regret. But when I look at the word regret, I believe that it means that God is sad about things. He's sad about what the outcome of things, even though he know what the outcome is going to be from eternity. He is exhibiting his sadness in real time, just like God exhibits his anger in real time. God exhibits his pleasures in real time. He's pleased, like with his creation. He says, and God saw his creation, and his creation was good. So the pleasure that he take in seeing his creation was in real time. God operates in certain way in real time. Even though he have foreknowledge of what his creation is going to be, and that his creation was going to be good. The Bible says, and God saw his creation and everything was good. He saw it in real time and everything was good. So God have foreknowledge of things, but he have also real-time knowledge. Like sometimes we are given foreknowledge of things before we really see it in real time. Like me having a video of someone sick and I'm going to visit the person, and so having the video is not real time, me seeing it in real time. But when I go there and see the person sick, then I'm seeing the person sick in real time. And that's when most of the time your emotion flows. Like a person is dead and you saw that dead body lying in the coffin and you start crying and you become hysterical, even though you know the person was dead 3 months ago. Because in Jamaica, sometimes they take 3 months to bury a dead. For real. Over here, they bury the dead faster than they do in Jamaica. Because Jamaica, a lot of time, people have to come from all walks of life to come to these to the funeral, and it will take a long time for some people to get buried. But I'm just saying that you could know that a person is dead for 3 months, and the only time you react to the death is that day when you saw that body lying in the coffin. That doesn't mean that you didn't have foreknowledge of the death.
Why we say about God,
comparing man to God now.
after there are consequences.
You're comparing man to God. No. This is how stupid this guy is. Man is created in the image of God. So there's things that manifested in man, that you see in man, that you could compare to God, because he is in the image of God.
Consequences to something God did, even though God knew of those.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Even though God knew those consequences.
Josh, the
And
whole
the
idea of
action of
Josh,
God,
Josh.
and the action. I'm going to finish my sentence.
Yeah,
and
finish.
the action of God was not negative. Right, the consequences of those actions, which God foresaw would be in some sense negative, it has to be, from our understanding, that God has to have regretted it, because if not, then God does not have this higher clarity of consequences of actions.
Okay,
That's
you,
God's
Okay.
action.
Hashim, say.
you finished?
That's
You
God's
finished?
You finished?
Hashim,
The thing is, when we make mistakes, yeah, we have regret.
Listen,
It's his view.
Because
because
we did not foresee
you
that
are
was a
talking my
mistake.
ear.
Please.
Yeah.
The reason we regret is because we did not foresee it as a mistake.
True.
So the reason we regret is because we didn't foresee it as a mistake. But sometimes we even foresee it as something that we would regret. For real. Sometimes we even foresee it as something that we would regret. I've said I've given things to people before, and I know that I could tell with a great discernment, and I'm telling you that God is greater than us, but I could tell that this person is going to use it for a negative reason. I really could tell that this person is going to use it for a negative reason. But let me tell you, when God do things to show us the mind of man. Even everything is written about God is to show us the mind of man. Like God chose Saul as a king. God did not want Israel to have a king, because God was Israel's king. And Israel cried for a king. and then the consequences of them choosing a king came. So you see, them crying for a king came on them. God knew what was going to happen, but that doesn't change the fact that in real time God could exhibit his regret. His regret. And as I say, his regret doesn't have to mean like, oh, I make a mistake that I want to take back. No, it's not a regret that I make a mistake that I want to take, or I can take back, or I want to take back. No, it is seeing in real time what man have done and exhibiting sadness, exhibiting extreme sadness because of what man has done. You know, is the Bible verse would read that God regret something, but God is sad that he made man. He is sad that he made man. And when sad doesn't mean a regret. Sad doesn't mean or regret in the same sense as it means that, hey, I make a mistake on if I had knowledge, I would have taken it back. No, as I say, I could kill someone and know and if I get the chance, the same opportunity come again. If it's the same, not the opportunity, the same incident, if the same incident occur, I would do the same thing and I wouldn't do anything different. But still, I have sadness that this man lose his life. But could I do better than him losing his life? No, because I saw him stab the lady once, stab the lady twice, and I was about to stab again, and I shot him to death. Do I regret shooting him? No, but I regret I have to kill him. I regret that I had to kill him, but does that mean that I would take it's something that I could take back? No, and if this I'm given a second chance with the same activity, I would have done something different. No, I wouldn't have done something. I would have killed him again. I would have do it over and over the same way again in the same circumstance. So when God have his plan doesn't change how he feel about what he did, what happened and what he did. His foreknowledge doesn't change about his reaction to things.
In the case of God's actions having negative consequences, you're either saying God did not foresee it, or you're saying that he didn't know what he was doing, in a way.
There is a third.
Okay.
There is
And that's negative. That's not true. God didn't foresee it and he didn't know what he was doing. He's the same. If you know what you're doing, that means you have knowledge of what the outcome would be. Like if you actually know what you're doing, like, hey, this would work. If you know that what you're doing would work. Like a mechanic fixing your car, you can't say the mechanic don't know what he's doing. You know, it doesn't mean that he doesn't know what he's doing. But as I say, there is I shouldn't say the word thing, but it's two persons at work. There is man and his free will, and then there is God and his free will. And when God do things according to his free will, God do things according to his choice, according to his plan. With his foreknowledge, even though he have foreknowledge of what will happen, when it happen in real time, he can show remorse. He can show sadness for what happened, and that's when he said, "I regret." According to the translation, he said, "I regret making man." It doesn't literally have to be Like, oh, I regret. I am saddened about creating man. I am sad about creating man. But that doesn't mean that he didn't know that he would be sad about creating man. Like, I can do things, I punish my son, and I know that at the end of the day, I will be sad punishing him. But if it comes to the test again, would I punish him again? Yes. In the same way, I would have punished him again. But my knowledge that I will punish him if this occur does not change the fact that I am going to regret punishing. I'm going to regret punishing him, but I will always punish him if that performance is done again. It's the same way. God regret in the sense, not like man, regret without knowledge. Because man regret things because when things reveal to them, they see the consequences of it. Like me, I gave my son a car, and my son took the car and hurt himself. And I say, I regret giving you this car. If I didn't give you this car, you wouldn't have hurt yourself. We'll never see that in the Bible where God said, if I didn't do this, you wouldn't have. I regret doing it because if I didn't do it, you wouldn't have. You will never see that in the Bible. So the regret of God is different from the regret of man. Totally different. The regret of man, in most cases, is based on the fact that man doesn't have knowledge of outcome. But the regret of God is based on the fact that even though he knows the outcome, he still have sadness about the outcome. Because if he did not have sadness, he would be emotionless, callous. He could not show any form of love. If God is emotionless and callous, he cannot show love at all. And that's what these people don't think about.
Okay.
What is the third
The
possibility?
third possibility is that when we take the human attribute and apply it to God, we're not taking it 100%. We're taking that particular stage of it. I don't need to take the previous stage, right? The part of the regretting that we want to take over and talk about God is the part about the higher clarity at the end. What we're not taking over is the cause of the mistake that caused the higher clarity. That's not what we're talking
Josh,
about.
What was the
Listen. I will say something.
Shake.
Yeah. Listen.
So listen to this stupid sheikh now.
This is the analogy with Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, by the way. He discussed this with those philosophers who said they put that to compare to God. They said whatever is a human thing, which is a perfect thing for a human being, then it may apply to God. So that's one of the things. And as well, they try to make
What thing is perfect for a human being? What perfection is? What is perfect for a human being? Can you name one thing that you could say, oh, it's perfect for a human being? You know, so what is perfect for a human being, you could apply to God. What is perfect for a human being? He said, this guy, Ibn Taymiyyah, said, what is perfect for a human being, you could apply to God. But what really is perfect for a human being?
that the main concept of good and bad and how to deal with the things is the human nature rather than God himself. Now, what's the consequence of this? A Christian could use the same principle and apply it in the same manner to say, okay, you said regretting is a virtue from someone. If he commit a mistake, it's a virtue from someone. So that's why when God do such thing, that is a virtue for him to regret. That's what I understand from you. Now, the consequence of this, that means if someone doesn't have children as a human nature, this is a deficient thing. So the one.
Wow. Do you see how stupid this guy is? It's a human nature to have children, to give birth to children. A nature and an attribute is two different stuff. You know, a human nature, you know, to have children. But when you're talking about emotion and emotion are manifested emotions like pleasure, love. That's not like having a child. Do you see how stupid this guy is? What does he go into? Why does he think that he have to go there? But listen, let him go down this path, because this guy is senseless, babbling donkey.
One who is not deficient, the one who produced children. So that's why, due to this, from the goodness of the people that have children. So the same Christian say, okay, what's the problem for God to have a son? It's exactly the same thing.
Do you see the stupidity? It's not exactly the same thing. And if you look at it, if you go to the Quran, let's go to the Quran. We see this stuff. We go to Quran 6, verse 101. He is the originator of the heaven and the earth. How could he have a son when he does not have a companion, i.e., a wife? And he created all things. So Allah is saying that how can he have a son when he don't have a wife? What does that showing you? Mary in the Bible had a son without a husband, but Allah need a wife to have a son. What is that telling you? Allah is the mind of a man. Allah is from the mind of a human being. Why would Allah need what Mary doesn't need? So at the end of the day, when the guy talking about Allah having children and all of this and all that stuff, you will see the stupidity that arise from that. Because at the end of the day, an attribute like a person have the attribute of showing love, long suffering, stuff like that, things like those have nothing to do with having children. Having children is what? Consider procreation. But God, who is greater than man, create. God is the God of creation. We are human of procreation. So you see that God, who is greater than us, have children in a greater way than we have children. Because God create in us children. God create in us children, and these children that God create in us, in turn, is God's children. God create in us is children. God create in a woman is children. So God uses the body of one human being to create another human being. And what is man doing? Procreating while God is creating. Man is procreating while God is using man, is creating mankind through procreation through human beings. So at the end of the day, I don't know what this guy is saying. We are just showing that God is mightier than man, because God could bring about humankind in a different way, using man to bring about humankind. Man cannot use God to bring about humankind. See, the guy is a donkey, man. Straight up donkey. And if you notice, he goes on the attack of the Christian. He goes on the attack. And Josh, who is Josh? Who is Josh? Josh is a Jew, you know. And even though these Jews have lost their way to the point where they even run away from their own writing, you know, when you look at Targum Onkelos, if I'm pronouncing it right, you see where in the Targum he says that the if the word of God would let me actually find that, you know. So we see how let's look at something and read it. So he's dealing with a Jew, because what these people believe, that they are closer to the belief of the Jews than Christians are to the belief of the Jews, but they are not. This is from Targum Onkelos. And Jacob vow a vow, saying, if the word memra of Yahweh will be my support and will keep me in the way I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the word memra of Yahweh be my God. You know, so when we say the word is the Son of God, Jesus is the Son of God, we don't believe that God have sex to have to give birth to Jesus. What we believe, that the word came forth from God eternally exists with the Father and came forth from the Father eternally. And this word is also God, like the Father is God. You know, and we see this is Jewish writing, where is in agreement with what the Christian believe, what the Muslim believe. You know, Jewish writings are against what the Muslim believe. Do you see that the Muslim is now talking out against Jewish writing, but you will never hear a Christian speaking out against what is there in the Jewish books when it comes to the Bible itself? No, they will understand it the way the Jews understand it. In most cases, they will understand it the way the Jews understand it. We don't believe that God was deficient when he says that God regret that God was deficient. No, we believe that God can have emotions, in real-time emotions, but yet still it doesn't take away from his foreknowledge, from his omniscience, from his knowledge at all. Because even human being can have knowledge of things and still regret having knowledge. Still regret even though they have knowledge of the thing that they will regret. It's just the way we function. So we're gonna let the Jewish guy answer him.
It's exactly the same concept. They could use the same thing because it's a perfect attribute for a human being. They could apply it to God, to have a son.
The perfect attribute. What he call attribute? A perfect attribute for a human being to have a son. They're talking about emotions. We're not talking about procreation. We're not talking about procreation. And this is how you know that the Quran author is a man, because notice he's thinking the same way as the Quran author is thinking. How can he have a son when he have no wife? How can he have a son when he have no companion? Why is God thinking that way? That he must have a companion to have a son. Why does he have to have sex to have a son? Muhammad have a son called Zayd bin Thabit. Is that what his name was? Zayd ibn Thabit was actually called Zayd ibn Muhammad. Zayd, son of Muhammad. When Muhammad wanted to steal the man's wife, Muhammad disowned him as an adopted son, saying that he should have his father's name. But he is known as Muhammad's son. Did Muhammad have sex to have that son? No. You don't have to have sex to have a son. You don't have to have sex to have a son. And even the concept of the Bible teaches that you don't, a person don't have to have sex to have a son. There were people having sons to their brothers, but the son was attributed to the dead brother, even though the dead brother didn't, have sex to give birth to that son.
Otherwise, will be deficient. If the human being doesn't have a son or a child, is a deficient. So the same thing for God, if he didn't have a son, that's
So Allah is deficient. Allah doesn't have any children. Allah doesn't have any son. So Allah is deficient. According to his logic, Allah is deficient.
deficient. That's why he should have a son to show his mercy to the creation. You see what's going on? That's exactly, if you apply the same principle.
Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1.
You see the point?
Let him
You understand my point?
Let him answer.
In answer to your question,
Let him answer.
Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1. "Bonim atem Hashem Elokeichem." You are the children of the Lord your God. So you want me to say, well, then the only logical consequence is that you'll end up with a Christian view. Not so, because we believe that we are.
Do you notice he said you end up with the Christian view? Do you notice that this guy said you end up with the Christian view? Is it the Christian view, or is it the Bible, the Torah's view and the Tanakh view? Because we get Isaiah 7 verse 14, he says, "Unto us a son is born, unto us a child is given." And according to the rabbis, they attribute that to the Messiah. And according to the Targum that I just read, you hear the Targum is saying that the word is God. The word is God, according to the Targum that I just read. And we see where the Bible break it down in the book of John and show us that Jesus is that word. Jesus is that word that became the Messiah. So at the end of the day, when we put it all together, we see that we see that it's not a Christian theology. It is actually a Jewish theology that Jews like Joshua refuse to believe. Jews like Joshua who reject the Messiah refuse to believe. And these Muslims are arguing with Joshua while they claim that Isa ibn Maryam is the Messiah, when the fake Jesus is the Messiah, when Joshua don't believe that he is the Messiah. So you see, their belief and Joshua belief is not cohesive. It doesn't blend together. It doesn't blend together. But you will never see they have a discussion where they don't mention Christianity in their discussion, because this discussion should have nothing to do with Christianity per se, but the guy have to go and mention Christianity. And listen to this stupidity.
We are God's children, but not in a literal sense.
In what sense?
In a spiritual sense.
Stop right there. And do Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God in a spiritual sense? Yes, they do believe that Jesus is the Son of God in a spiritual sense. They believe that the Logos or the Memra is the Son of God in a spiritual sense. Non-Christians believe that God have sex. Only the stupid God of the Quran, who is a man, the mind of a man. How can he have a son when he have no companion, i.e. a wife? So Allah would need sex to have a son. Allah would need sex to have a son. Do you see how the difference between these two religions, Islam and Judaism? The guy in the middle is a Jew, and flanking on both sides are the Abduls, the Muslims. And you will see that everything is so sexual and natural for these Abduls. Things, even the Quran, things have to be so natural for the Quran. Nothing is spiritual for the Quran. How can he have a son when he have no wife? How can he have a son? So Allah would need to have sex to have a son. To have a son, Allah would actually literally need to have sex in order to have a son. You see, this is a demon book.
What do you mean? Like metaphoric?
Yes.
Metaphorical, yeah.
In a spiritual sense.
So in what?
And therefore, just as a person has produced children,
Meaning
God has
creation.
created children.
So why did he kill his children then?
hold on. Let's say, you notice what Joshua says? Just like a person, I think he said produce, but I use the word procreate. Just like a person procreate to have children,
Therefore,
God,
just as a person has produced children,
Meaning,
just like God, and when you say produce, if you look at the word produce, a production, produce could come to sexual reproduction, but then produce could also come to manufacturing or creating, and procreation is created through sex. So God give man the image, man have the image of God in the sense that they could procreate while God create, but they cannot create the way God create because God is the Almighty. God is the Almighty. So when man is created in the image of God, he can continue to work and do what God does, but in a different way. Not in the same way that God does it, but in a different way. And this is why you could tell that the Quran is hiding something when it says, Isa ibn Maryam, create a bird from dust. Create a bird from dust and blow into that bird the breath of life, and the bird became live bird. Because no man can create in that way. No regular man can create in that way. Because man's in the image of God can only procreate. He can assist God with his creation. God can create through him, through procreation. He cannot create another species. A man cannot create another species. A normal man cannot create another species. You cannot put a cow, which is a bovine, you cannot put a bovine with a horse and you have offspring. No, you can't. It will never happen. But you could have put a donkey with a horse, because what? What is a donkey? A donkey is from the same class as a horse is from the same class. You could put a wolf with a dog, because what is a wolf? A dog. They are canine. They are from the same class. So this is how procreation continue. Procreation is used to continue creation. This is how it's done. But the negativity, the stupidity of Islam is that Isa created a bird. Just like Adam was created from dust. Isa did the very thing, create a bird. Why? Because the stupid book is a demon book and is hiding something. It's hiding something. Why is he the only man who create a bird from scratch? Not all say you use the power of God and do resurrection. No. The Quran actually say, by the permission of Allah, I will create. By permission. I give my son a permission, say, hey, make yourself a chicken coop and I buy you some chicken. Does that mean that I make the coop? No, I gave him permission to make the coop. Islam is nothing but nonsense, man. And listen to this idiot. I want you to listen to this idiot. The guy on the left, on Josh's right, is an idiot. Listen to the one in the darker cap. Listen to him.
in what sense?
In a spiritual sense.
Okay, so
What do you mean? Like metaphoric?
Yes.
Metaphorical, yeah.
In a spiritual sense.
So in what?
And therefore,
it is not metaphoric. It's not metaphoric. It's a spiritual way. God create us, so he is our father. That's not metaphoric, that he's a metaphorical father. No, he's not the father as in the same way as your father who copulate with your mom. No, he's not that way. But he is your father because he is your creator. That's what the Bible says. So it's have nothing to do with no metaphorical, that God is your father in a metaphorical way. No, it's not metaphorical. It's not metaphorical. He's your father because he's your creator. Isn't that what the Bible says? Do we not have one Father? Did not one God create us? And the Bible says, Lord, you are our Father, you create us. Because he created us, he is our Father. And this is why you know that the Islamic God is not creator, because the Islamic God said, how can he have a son when he have no wife? He can't measure up to the creator. And look at this stupidity. Listen to this.
Therefore, just as a person has produced children,
Meaning
God has
creation.
created children.
So why did he kill his children then?
So the idiot asks, why did he kill his children then? So a person will ask a question like, hey, that means that a man cannot kill his son. I don't know what he means when he said, why did he kill his children? And where do you find something similar to this? In the Quran. Let me show you what the Quran says. Surah 5, verse 18. But the Jews and the Christians say, we are the children of Allah and his beloved. Say, then why does he punish you for your sins? So because a father punish a son or children for their sins, that means they are not children. Rather, you are human beings from among those he created. And this is the very reason why, do you see how this God is stupid of the Quran? Rather, you are human beings from among those he created. Isn't that the very reason why we are sons of God? Let's look what the Bible says. The very reason we are sons of God is because we are created by God. No other reason. Look at this. I think it's found in the book. I think it's found in the book of Isaiah. Yeah, I think it's found in Isaiah. But you will see the very reason that God is our Father is the very reason this idiotic Quran is saying that God is not our Father. You know that the Quran came from a stupid place. The very reason that God is our Father is the very reason the Quran is saying that God is not our Father. Let me find it. I know it's in Isaiah somewhere. Yes, Isaiah 63, verse 16. So Isaiah 63, verse 16. I think. But you are our Father, though Abram does not know us. O Israel, acknowledge us. You, Lord, are our Father, our Redeemer. From of old is your name. But that's not the one. I think it's Isaiah 68, I think. Isaiah 64. Here it is. Isaiah 64. So the very reason God is our Father is the very reason the Quran says Allah is not your Father. Isaiah 64, verse 8. Yet you, Lord, are our Father. We are the clay. Notice this. We are the clay and you are the potter. We are the works of your hand. So what is Isaiah saying? What is Isaiah saying here? That God is our Father because God created us just like he created the clay. Just like he created Adam from clay. He created us. And that's why God is our Father. He says, yet you, Lord, are our Father. We are the clay. You are the potter. We are the works of your hand. So the reason God is our Father, according to this verse, is because God created us. And what does the Quran say? then why does he, so the Quran is telling Muhammad and his idiots to say, then why does he punish you for your sins? Rather, you are human beings from among those he created. Do you see that? This is the senselessness of the Quran. This is Quran 5, verse 18. So you see, these Abdul will jump into the book of Isaiah and they say, oh, Muhammad is in the book of Isaiah. We could find him here, we could find him there, and we search him everywhere. Searching for him in the atmosphere everywhere. But you see that the language of Isaiah does not add up to the language of the Quran. So why are these idiots searching for Muhammad in the book of Isaiah? Isaiah said, and yet, O Lord, mean yet, O Jehovah, you are our Father. We are the clay and you are the potter. We all are formed by your hands. That's a different translation. Isaiah 64 verse 8. When you go to Quran 5 verse 18, what does the idiot who wrote the Quran says? But the Jews and the Christians say, we are the children of Allah and his beloved. Say, then why does he punish you? So because God punished people, God is not, they are not the children of God. I punish my son, so my son is not my child. And do you notice what the idiot asks? The idiot asks, why does he kill? Why does he kill them? So the punishment of God is to kill those who disobey his commandment. Because the moment you disobey God's commandment, you choose other than God. And that's what happened. You choose other than God. And that's why the Messiah could say. Listen to what the Messiah says. So we go to the book of John. We go to the book of John 44. John 8:44. What did the book of John 8:44 says? It says, you belong to your father, the devil. And you want to carry out your father's desire. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth. So when you disrespect God, guess what? You automatically is kicked out of God's as God's children. You're no longer God's children because what? You refuse to follow God. You know, even though God created you and you are his children in the sense of creation, you are not following him, so you are not an obedient child. So you choose this destruction on yourself. What did God says to his children? Let me show you how God said to his children. This is how God works. We go to the book of Deuteronomy 30 and we see, I set before you today life and prosperity, death and destruction. So God put before his children, just like any father out here put before his children. He says, hey, you follow this way, you will live. You follow this way, you will die. And this is what God put in front of us. For I command you to love the Lord your God, to walk in his way, and to keep his commandment, decree, and law, then you will live and increase. Do you see this? So God is telling people that if you follow his commandment, you will live and increase. And even when we refuse to follow his commandment, what did God do? God sent his one unique son, the son that is not adopted, not to did not come the way we come. The son that came from him, from everlasting, his word that is God like himself, and came through him. God sent that son as a human being, as a weak human being. Let me show you, when I say weak human being, he came in our weakness. He came in our likeness. He came in our weakness. And took upon us, on himself, our death upon himself. And even with that, we still choose to be disobedient to God. So we still choose to follow who we choose as our father. So we disown God as our father and we follow the devil. And this is why we die. we disown God as our father, and we follow the devil as our father. We choose the devil as our father, and this is why we die, because God gave us a choice. He said, follow me, and there is life and prosperity. Follow otherwise, and there is death and destruction. So we make the choice. He said, today I set before you today life and prosperity, death and destruction. Notice what he says. Keep his commandment. So Moses is telling you to keep his commands. That means you have a choice. You have free will, decree and law, and you will live and increase. There is actually a verse that says, choose life. Let me see if it is a, let me see. Verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you that I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life. So God gives us a choice to choose what we want. So you give a choice to choose what you want, and you choose death. And even when you choose death upon yourself, guess what? God have an alternative to you choosing death. This is our Father operate. So it is okay for Allah to punish his slaves, to kill his slave. But say, oh, because there's a father and a son relationship, a father and children relationship, God should not, the real God should not kill those who deny him being their father. And listen to that stupid laugh. I'm telling you, when a wise man have an argument with a fool, according to the book of Proverbs, when a wise man have argument with fools, the fools rage and laugh, and there is no quiet.
No problem.
Because that's exactly the point. You know, the reason he regretted,
Yeah.
because when his children became wicked, God said, let's eliminate them all with the flood.
Do you see the foolishness? When his children become wicked, God said, let's eliminate them all with a flood. According to the pirate of the Quran, when the slave of Allah became wicked, so Allah chose these people to be his slave, and when they become wicked, according to the Quran, didn't Allah eliminate them with the flood? So when they become wicked, they step out of their boundary as children, and they choose other than God to be their father. Because even though God is their father through creation, you could adapt the ways of Satan, and through adoption, you become the son of Satan. So you choose your father you choose Satan over your father. And what happened when in any society, Muhammad says, do you believe that if in Islamic law, if you if the son of the Caliph break the Islamic law, do you think that he will not be killed? Sorry, do you think that he will not be killed? He will be killed. He will be killed. If the son of the Caliph break the Islamic law, he will be killed. Because it's just a law. A law is just a law. Whether it goes for your children, it goes for everybody. A law in a country, in a kingdom, the law goes for all people. The law is not a biased law that say, hey, how you because you're children, you disobey, become murderers, and become you're not gonna be killed. The law doesn't change. Your relationship to the lawgiver doesn't change the effect of the law.
Yeah, let's kill them.
So it goes against you still, my friend.
No, it does not.
It does, because God eliminating his children.
If
who are-
Moshe Glass,
in fact, the wicked and the good both were eliminated.
Or
He
command.
said the wicked and the good both were eliminated. What he's talking about? What is this idiot talking about and laughing about it? The wicked and the good were both eliminated. What is he talking about? What is this idiot talking about?
Or command.
6.
Listen.
Now he has to go.
Listen.
541.
Or he commands his army to kill other children that he has created, to say kill every single man and woman and a child, even an old.
And do you see these two dumb donkeys? If you look, let me show you something. What these dumb donkeys are not, they're forgetting. Let me show you what these dumb donkeys are forgetting. So let me just share this with you guys. What these dumb donkeys are forgetting. Because when these dumb donkeys make their speech, they believe that what they say is meaningful. But we know that what they say doesn't make any sense. It's Muhammad boasted that his God gave the Torah, because they're talking about Numbers 31. That's what they're talking about. But Muhammad boasted that his God gave the Torah. Surah 3 verse 3 and Surah 5 verse 44. Muhammad once took the Torah and placed it on a cushion that he was sitting on. He talked to the Torah saying, I believe in you, and he actually said, I believe in you and the one who revealed you. So when you look at this right here, Muhammad endorsed the very Quran, that the very Torah. Muhammad endorsed the very Torah that these idiots are fighting against. But good evening, my friend. But look what happened here. Let me show you what happened here. Let's see what this idiot is going to say. Let's listen to what this idiot is going to say.
I think
So that's another thing.
just what it is. I think what it
And
is.
donkeys.
Just,
What about
just what it is that
what donkeys they have done to God?
the concept of
He said, what donkeys have done to God to be killed. This guy doesn't even use his brain, man. I'm telling you, all the brain that these idiots have, call himself a sheikh. He said, what does donkey do to God to be killed? Now, if you look at the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in the Quran, did God run the donkeys and the horse and the dogs and out of Sodom and Gomorrah before it rained down fire on it? Did he do that? Did he do that? Did Allah run the donkeys out of Sodom and Gomorrah before he claimed, this stupid God of the Quran claimed that he's the one who do it? So, Muhammad claimed that his God do it. So did he run the donkeys out of the two cities before he destroyed the city? There are many reasons why God destroyed animal. Blood money. Do you think that God wants his people? Animals were used as money in those days. Do you think that the wise God wants his people to be involved in partaking in blood money? If the people were sacrificing their children to false God in those days, and as a way of exchanging their children for wealth, what about homosexuality with animal, as the very book of the Torah tell us that the people were actually having sex with their animals? What if that was the case, that the Most High did not want Israel to partake of those kind of animals that were accumulated and achieved in various sinful ways? And he said, just destroy the animals because you're not supposed to partake of these animals. Destroy them. What is wrong with that? Isn't God the creator of all things? And he knows, he have the wisdom to know why he do what he do. When Muhammad was attacking this city at night, this settlement at night, and they were using a catapult to attack the city. And when they told Muhammad that children were being killed, do you know what Muhammad said? They are from among them. Muhammad literally say, they are from among them. So Muhammad, according to these Muslims, Muhammad have more power over the life of man than God Almighty. See this stupidity, man. Do you see this stupidity? Sorry. I think I got out when I shouldn't. So I'm going to wrap up in a minute, but I just want to cover some things.
Regretting something is admitting that I got it wrong.
No. As I say, I killed the man who was attacking the woman, and I regret that he died at my hand, but I did not admit that I did something wrong, because if it happened again the same way, I would have done it again. Regret, I feel saddened by something, does not mean that you have done something wrong. How you feel that you have done something wrong. No. It's just the emotion that you feel when you see things in real time. When you see things in real time and know that life is being lost, things that because of this, because of man's action, this is the result of things. Even though you know that your action would cause the life of that man. When I shoot him with a gun, I don't regret killing him, because what? He was gonna kill the woman, and if I didn't kill him, the woman would be killed. And who deserved to die? A murderer deserved to die. So I put the woman's life above his life, and I take his life. But do I regret killing him, in the sense that I regret my action? No. I regret that his life is taken, but I don't regret my action. Just, that God have sadness for how things happen, but he does not regret his action. His action that he see from eternity. He doesn't regret his action, but he regret the way it happened. He saddened by the way it happened, but he does not regret his action. That's stupidity.
I wish I'd done it differently.
No, I didn't. The man is about to kill the woman, he stabbed the woman once and stabbed the woman twice, and I got my gun off just in time before he stabbed the woman again, and I shot him, and the woman is alive. Do I regret my action? I wish I could do things differently. No, I would not regret, because how could you do things differently in that case? You can't do nothing differently. Sir, stop, do this. No, you can't stop. He coming down with a knife. So you shoot him, and by you shooting him, the knife didn't go where the knife's supposed to go, because when he get the shot, he kicks him, and he fall off the woman without hurting the woman another time. So at the end of the day, do I regret his death, that he died at my hand? Yes, I regret that he died at my hand. But do I regret my action of killing him? No, I don't regret my action of killing him. And God works in different ways. But let's play a video of this rabbi. Let's get into the video of this rabbi before we go, so we could see where this rabbi talk about the regret of God. Oh, God regrets. So let me find it before I. Okay, I think this is the one. So let's show you the rabbi take on it, because there's different way to look at things, and not just one way. Muslim are one-track minded people, like Jehovah's Witnesses.
Everything. We find sometimes that Hashem regrets things. I mean, it says from a recent parasha, but at the beginning, at the parasha's Bereshis, in the first parasha, it says God regretted making man.
Well, those terminology is only a way for us to understand, but it's not really God that has those feelings. He knows the future and he knows what's going to happen, and but the terminology is for our benefit to understand. When God does something and then he punishes it for it, he created the world and then destroyed the world with the flood. So we say God regretted making the world. It doesn't mean that he has the feelings that we have. His regretting means what in his world what regretting means. Not the same way we regret, because we're human beings. When we say God regrets something, it means something that decided he wants to change from before because of our actions. Our people in the time of the flood sinned terribly, so therefore God had to change the plan of keeping people alive, and he punished them by destroying the world. So because of our actions, God conducts himself.
So you hear what he says? He say, in God's realm, in the realm of God, the way things are is different from the realm of man. So when they use a word to say that God regret, is for our benefit, but it's not really telling you exactly what God does, because in our realm we can find words enough to actually describe the feelings of God, So this is what he is actually saying. And if this area where I was showing you from where the Muslim asked the question, if I can find it, there's a Muslim that says something similar to that. So there's a Muslim, he says he has more. Okay, yes. He says he has more of than anyone else can ever have. So he's saying that Allah have more of them, I think, them. Because the question asks, let me show you. The question, let me read it. He says, does Allah have emotion? So the Muslim is answering, and the Muslim is called Manawar. And this is Kura, question and answer. And the Muslim is called Manawara Chardori, or something like that. So he says he has more of them. I think he means to say more of them, but he says more of than anyone else can ever have. So Allah have more emotions than anyone else can ever have. His love is beyond explanation. So his love is beyond explanation, and his feelings are beyond words. Do you see that? His feelings are beyond words. He's actually saying exactly what the rabbi is saying, that to express how God feel is beyond our words. So the way he regret within his realm, not within our realm, not within our understanding, not within our a man regret things. He regret is different from that of a man. So he is there for us even when we feel we are left alone. So it's maybe talking about the love of Allah right there. So if Allah is, we look at Surah 3, verse 162. So in one who pursue the pleasure of Allah, so Allah have pleasure, so Allah can feel pleasure of Allah, just like the one who brings the anger of Allah. So Allah can get angry and Allah have pleasure. So the stupidity, if you should follow these Muslims, you could use the same kind of tactic. Like, if Allah know that you would have done this, why is he angry? You know, if Allah is all knowing and he's so perfect in what he do, and he knows that you would do something wrong, why is he angry about what you do? And according to the Quran, isn't it Allah who lead people astray? Allah lead people astray. If we look at these Quran verses, we look at these Quran verses. So we talk about the pleasure of Allah. Notice this just talk about the pleasure of Allah. The Quran verse that I just read, Quran 3 verse 162, I think, talk about the pleasure of Allah and the anger of Allah. And when you look at Surah 14 verse 4, he says, Allah lead astray whom he pleases, and he guided whom he pleases. So Allah is leading astray people and guiding people, but yet still he's angry at you who he lead astray. Do you see? Surah 14 verse 4 says, Allah lead astray whom he pleases, and he guides whom he pleases. But according to the surah that I just read, where is it? Surah 3 verse 162, he says, so is one who pursues the pleasure of Allah. So the person who pursue the pleasure of Allah is the one who Allah leads. And just like the one who brings the anger of Allah upon himself. So Allah lead astray the one who bring the anger of Allah upon himself. You know, so Allah is the one who lead you to bring the anger, lead you astray, so that he could bring the anger of him, of Allah, his anger upon you, and he is the one who lead you to his pleasure. So you see the thing here. Allah have emotions that he feels. So does Allah have knowledge that he would be angry when he things happen in real time? He's angry, you know. As I say, according to the Muslim, Allah have knowledge of all things, but you see that Allah get angry. So when did he get angry? Why is he angry if he have knowledge of all things? So to show that you regret something, according to these Muslims, he's showing that you didn't know that it would happen. You didn't know that you didn't have knowledge that it would happen. So if you're angry against over something, that doesn't mean does it mean that you have knowledge that it would happen? So you have knowledge from eternity that something would happen, but when it happened, you become angry about it. How you explain that? How does a Muslim explain that? They would explain it the same way we would explain that God regret things in real time, but his regret is not the way men regret things. Because according to this guy he says, he has more of them than anyone else can ever have. His love is beyond explanation and his feelings are beyond words. So you can't explain God's feeling with man's word. And man knowledge, man words that says, when man use the word and says, I regret something, regret in most cases for man is based on the fact that he doesn't have enough knowledge of the outcome of things. But you can't use that same thing for God, because, as I say, even a human being can regret something that he know would happen. You know, the doctor gives someone, because the cancer is spread so much in the person's body, that the doctor give you 6 months to live. 6 months to live. And you know that the doctor gave the man 6 months to live, and he show you all the scans and all the stuff that they've done. Show you the scan of the cancer to the man's heart, to the man's lungs, to the vital places in the man's, to the kidneys and stuff like that. How you know there is no way this man can live? You could see him already fading away. But when he died, you regret his death, even though you have foreknowledge that he would die. So you see that's the way it goes. A lot of these Muslims, they will not admit that that's the way it goes.
But we talk about God's feelings and God's way of thinking. It's not the way we think. It's the way God thinks, which is totally above our understanding.
Yes. So God's regret is above our understanding of regret. And this is why if you look at it, where God regret, where God says he regret, God said he regret Saul as king. In the same chapter, the writer of the chapter I've seen the person who wrote the chapter, the person the revealer of the chapter knows that man would have a problem with this, because if you go to verse 30 or the 29, you will see a different. It's the 1 Samuel 15. You will see a different, something different. So when you go to 1 Samuel 15 verse 28 to 1 Samuel 15 verse 28 to 29. And Samuel said to him, the Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you this day. So God take the kingdom from him this day and has given it to your neighbor of yours, who is better than you. And also the glory of Israel will not lie or have regret, for he is not a man that he should have regret. So you see, the explanation of the overall context is that God doesn't regret the way man regret. The kind of regret that man have is not the same that God have. So the glory of Israel, which is God, is the glory of Israel. And also the glory of Israel will not lie, he will not lie or have regret, for he is not a man that he should have regret. So he is not a man that he should have regret. The same word. And this is it's from the same chapter that God that says that God regret. He's saying that God is not a man that he should have regret. That he's telling you that the way man regret is not the same way God have. The feeling of God is not the same as this as man's feeling. It's a different feeling. It's not the same at all. So we look at that and we see what the rabbi is saying. The rabbi is saying that the feeling of God is beyond the feeling of man, and that's true. It's totally beyond the feeling of man. We cannot comprehend the feeling of God because we don't feel the way God feels. About anything, we don't feel the way God feels. But just to get into it a little bit more, we would let this Christian, from a Christian perspective, we just let from a Christian perspective, we just look at some things from a Christian perspective. So let's look at this, and then we finish this video. Look at this from a Christian perspective.
One of the arguments used by open theists is that there are passages in the Bible where God regrets or repents, as the old King James says, what he has done, and therefore must not have been able to foresee what would come of his decisions. Otherwise, he would not have done them if he really regrets them. Now, Ryan, in asking his question, has mentioned two of these: Genesis 6 and 7, and 1 Samuel 15:11. So what I'm going to do is take just one of those, 15:11, because I think if we can show how one is explained, then other passages in the Bible fall into place as well. When Saul disobeys Samuel, God says, "I regret," or King James, "I repent that I have made Saul king, for he has turned back from following me and has not carried out my commands." That's 1 Samuel 15:11. So some have argued, as I said, that since God repents, regrets making him king, therefore if he had to do over again, he wouldn't, because he couldn't see what was coming. Else why would he repent or regret if he knew in advance the consequence of his decision and chose to do it anyway? Now, I don't think that is a compelling argument against God's foreknowledge, complete, exhaustive foreknowledge of what was going to come of Saul, and for several reasons. I'll just mention a couple. One has to do with the complexity of God's emotional life, and the other has to do with the context in 1 Samuel 15, where I think the writer explicitly does something to keep us from drawing a wrong conclusion about God's foreknowledge. So the first problem with that view is that it assumes God could not or would not lament over a state of affairs that he himself chose to bring about.
And do you notice what the narrator says? God would not lament, and this is why I look at the definition of the word regret. And when you look at the definition of the word regret, you see to feel sad about something. So you are telling me because someone have foreknowledge of something, then they should be devoid of the feeling of emotion regarding what they have foreknowledge of. But you will see where the Abdul actually says that Allah is pleased by certain things and he's angry by certain things. Allah is not devoid of having emotion regarding things that happen, but Yahweh must be devoid of having emotion for things that happen. And it is, as I pointed out, that not because you know of foreknowledge of what was going on, that doesn't mean that you don't have remorse. A sniper can say, okay, this man is carrying a bomb on his body and he's going into the subway and they've been tracking him. So he was just about to disappear into the subway with the bomb strapped to his body and a detonator somewhere in his pocket or somewhere. So the sniper perched on a high building somewhere, and just as he's about to go down into the subway, the sniper take him out. Are you telling me that the sniper, even though he know I'm gonna take a head shot and this man is gonna die, he should not have any remorse about the death of the man? He know the man is gonna die. He know he's not gonna miss because he is the best, and he know as long as he settle his body and pull that trigger and squeeze the trigger, that person is a dead person because he never missed. Does that mean that this sniper should not feel any remorse for taking that life, or any feeling at all, or any regret? But would he do it again if he had the same opportunity, the same chance came up? Not really shouldn't say opportunity or chance as if it's a good thing, but the same kind of incident, would he continue? Would he do his duty just the same way, or would he carry out his plan the same way? Because he planned this. He followed the man, and he sit on the perch up there, and he watched the man to see where the man going, and decided to take the man out when the man got to the subway and was ready to go underground. He took the man out. So that was a part of his plan, but to take the man out. But when he got down from his perch, you want to tell me that he should go home and feel like, oh, nothing happened all day, even though he had foreknowledge that he was going to kill that man? You know, God works in this way. His knowledge is not like our knowledge, and his behavior is not like our behavior, but he show emotions, and he show regret, not in the same way as we regret without knowledge.
But that assumption, I think, is not true to experience and not true to the Bible. And more importantly, God's heart is capable of complex combinations of emotions infinitely more remarkable than ours. He may well be capable of lamenting over something he chose to bring about.
Yes. Do you see this? This is such a beautiful explanation that God is capable of lamenting over something that he chose to bring about. Just like man is capable of lamenting over something that he chose to bring about. Yes. Man is capable of being sad about something he chooses to bring about. There's a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of occurrence in man's life where man had to make, where man make decisions, knowing that, hey, this is the plan, this is the decision, this is what we're gonna carry through. But then after it is done, in real time, he is sad, and he is sad from before it is even done. But he know he got to carry through with it, because that's a part of the plan to fulfill whatever duty that he have to perform.
And God may be capable of looking back on the very act of bringing something about and lamenting that act in one regard, while affirming it as best in another regard.
And just like I say, that this man was about to stab that woman to death. He had stabbed her already and was about to stab her the second time, which I know would have caused her death. And I shot the man in the head to kill him, because shooting him and you don't kill him, who knows what could have happened. But you shoot him in the head knowing that, hey, I'm going to kill him. You could lament the action of killing this man, but you don't lament the action. You could lament the fact that this man is dead because by your hand, but you could choose not to regret that you shoot him. Somebody asks you, do you regret shooting this man? And you said no. But at the same time, you feel sad that you took a life.
Here's an example from my experience. See if this helps. If I spank my son for blatant disobedience, and he runs away from home because I spanked him, I may feel some remorse over the spanking, not in the sense that I disapprove of what I did, but in the sense that I feel some sorrow that the spanking was necessary and a part of a wise way of dealing with my son in this situation, and great sorrow that he ran away. If I had to do it over again, I would still spank him.
Yep.
It was the right thing to do, even knowing that one consequence would be alienation for a season. I approve the spanking from one angle, and at the same time, I regret the spanking from another angle.
Yeah.
If such a combination of emotions is possible for me in my finite decisions, it's not hard for me to imagine that God's infinite mind, the infinite.
And that's the problem with a Muslim. A Muslim believes that God should function within the confinement of a man. A Muslim believes that God should function within the confinement of mankind. It's the same way that mankind regrets something, is the same way God should regret it. God should regret something. No. Even human beings have knowledge of what the outcome would be and still have remorse and regret and lament what they do. And go home, a man just kill so a person kill a person and run into killing other people. You know, like when these Muslims go on their rampage and shooting up everybody. Our example, this guy who went targeting Jews and black people in Buffalo, New York. Say you were there. Say you were there, and you shoot the first person, the second person, and you were there with your gun because you're legally carrying, whether you're legally carrying or illegally carrying, and you were there. You know, I'm just saying that you're not supposed to illegally carry, but there's people who do illegal carry. We know that. And you were there, somebody was there, and see what this man come into the store doing, and you shoot the man, whether you're illegally carrying or legally carrying. If you have any sense of life at all, of taking a life or any sense of human life, when you're home or you're in that jail cell, because they're gonna lock you up for a while using an illegal gun, you know. They might praise you or let you out of jail later, but they're gonna lock you up. But they have you in the jail cell or you are home in your bed. I'm sure you're going to spend some hours not sleeping and thinking, if you got a clean mind, a good mind, like, wow, man, I can't believe I killed somebody. Because a lot of people have guns for their protection, but they're not thinking about killing anyone. They're not thinking about killing anybody at all. Back home in Jamaica, they have security guards who have gone to secure different places, banks and different stuff. But they don't go to work thinking like, oh, I'm going to kill somebody today. No, they go to work thinking that, oh, I'm going to parade that gun on my side. I'm going to show it big and just out in public to stop someone from robbing. You know, and they come out and they make sure that they're in places where people could see, like, hey, it's more than one of us, or even one of us, but I'm loaded, so don't come. You know, but they don't go about trying to kill anybody. But if it come to the test where they have to kill somebody to save lives, they will kill somebody to save life, and they know that that's a part of their job. They have full knowledge that that will be a part of their job if the circumstances come around. But guess what? When they go home, they maybe cry to their wife or they cry to their husbands that, hey, I killed a person today, and you know. But if it comes to the test, would they do that again? Would they perform their duty, the plan that they learned, the way they learned? Yes, they would do it.
sent to say this. Hello, Tony and Pastor
So
John.
that's just the end of the video, just to show how naive and stupid these Muslims are. And I don't know. To be a Abdul is a sin. It's a sin itself. Allah is a very stupid God because he caused the problem by misleading, deceiving, and manipulating. He is mismanagement. He is mismanagement of humanity. Yes. So, and that's the problem with the Quran. And that's why you know the Quran is not from God. Because the Quran is saying that Allah lead astray and then Allah grieve and anger, you know, with who you lead astray. He's leading you astray, but he's grieve and anger. He's angry with you, and he's the one who lead you astray. Why is he grieve and anger? That should never be a part of his emotion. And to be real with you, you will hear if the video goes longer, because I'd watched it yesterday for a little bit, and you will hear where one of the Muslim, I can't remember which one of them says, Allah have complete knowledge, so he would not have any regret. But he's saying that Allah show anger and Allah he show anger and he show something, I think desire or something like that. You know, he showed that he's happy with about something.
Do you see my point?
I disagree.
Well, look, if an outcome happens that you're not happy with,
Yes.
that you're not happy with, what that means is that you wish you did it a different way.
No, and that's stupid. An outcome occur that you are not happy with. That doesn't mean that you wish you did it a different way. As I say, I shoot the man and I'm not happy killing that man. But that doesn't mean that I would have done it a different way. No. If it comes to the test again, I would do it over and over the same way. The same way, just like the sniper sitting on the perch and see the Muslim terrorist going down into the subway and decide to take him out with a headshot. And he feels sorry that he killed a human being. He may feel sorry that I had to kill a human being, but does he feel sorry about the action of killing him in the sense of the totally remorse for killing him? No, he feels remorse of taking a human life, but he does not feel remorse that he killed the man because the man was about to, or the person, because the person was about to kill possibly thousands of people. So, you know, not because you regret something, that doesn't mean that you have no knowledge of what you're doing.
And that's where the regret comes in.
Nah, you're not thinking, brother. You shouldn't call him brother because I'm no brother with no idiot. You're not thinking. These Muslims don't think about things, man. They only just want to oppose, but their mind is not there. You know, their mind, they don't use their mind to oppose. Their mind is gone. They kiss too much black stone and bow. They spend too much time on their face.
And what we're saying is that the majesty of Allah is that he does everything with perfection.
So Allah does everything with perfection, but he's angry. Why is he angry? If you're putting that, Allah does everything with perfection, what does that mean? He does everything with perfection. They'll say, because God show regret, or remorse for something, or shows lament over something, or that he's sad over something, because according to the definition of the word regret, it means that you're sad, or you can be sad over something. So because God is sad over something, that means he's not perfect. That doesn't even make no sense. But Allah is angry over something that he caused, but he is perfect. As if he didn't know that you know, this is so you're saying that he have no reason to be angry. You know, I would say that Allah have no reason to be angry if he knows all things, which doesn't even make no sense, because not because you know all things, that doesn't mean that you cannot be angry. It's just like I could be angry over something that I know will happen. You know, people know that your father is sick for years, and you know he's gonna die from his sickness because he gets worse and worse every day. But when he died, you are angry. That doesn't mean that you didn't know that he was gonna die. See, a stupid Muslim, man.
His knowledge is perfect, his actions are perfect, and there is no concept of regret, because there's no regret of an action that God did or didn't do.
Because he knows the consequence.
Because,
and this is how stupid these guys are. Regret doesn't mean that you don't know the consequence. Regret, you know, see, regret and consequence is two different things. To be sad over something, you know, doesn't mean that you don't know the consequence. You know, you didn't know the consequence. That doesn't mean that you didn't know the consequence. You know your father is gonna die from his, you know the consequence of the disease. You know the prognosis of the disease. You know what the prognosis of the disease is, that it is death. But when the death come upon your father, whether you are a doctor, what form of you could be a neuroscience, and your father have a neurological disease that's going to cause his death. When his death come, you are going to show remorse over his death. You are going to show sadness and sorrow over his death. It's like, oh, he's going to die, and you'll be walking around without emotion. That means something mentally turned into you. Sometimes something mentally is wrong with you. If you're walking around without emotion after your father's death, even though you know about his death.
because he knows perfectly what to do, when to do, and how to do.
And the consequence of.
And the consequences. So
when those consequences,
that's the thing.
And when those consequences that God creates are in fact negative consequences.
Yes.
And you're saying that God does not regret it.
No.
In that we cannot look at God
no.
as saying regret.
We can't say regret. What we can say is that Allah is pleased or displeased with a person.
Okay, so pleased or displeased. Allah is pleased or displeased. So Allah is displeased with something that he know was gonna happen. Is that the same way? It is totally the same way. Allah is displeased with something that he know would happen and that he caused to happen. He is displeased with something that he know would happen. He's showing emotional displeasure and anger over something that he know would happen. So how is Allah different from God regretting that something would happen, which means that he's sorrowful over something that would happen? He feels sorry for something that will happen. That doesn't and when you say if he's sorry for something that happened, that doesn't mean that he didn't know that it would happen. But the way God function is different from the way we function. The way he function is different from the way we function. And as I say, that the words used in our languages to describe the emotion of God, you know, we may not have the correct word to describe how God feels. So we have to use whatever word we have available to describe the way God feels about things.
Person's action, but that's directly in relation to what you do, how you behave, what you might do. So you believe the same concept, that God is not pleased with a person who worships a calf. He's angered by that.
Yes.
God is pleased with the one who doesn't attribute partners to him and just worships him alone.
Yes.
But God does not regret that he worshipped the calf, because regret is a term that we would attribute to getting an action or an outcome opposite to what I'd intended.
Oh, wow. So God intend for a person to worship a calf. This is how idiotic this donkey is. So God intended for a person to worship a calf. So regret is getting an outcome from what I intend. So God intend for you to worship a calf. And this is why you see the Quran have this stupidity in it, that Allah, we see this, he says, Allah lead astray whom he pleases, and he guide whom he will. This is why you see this stupidity. They think just like their God think. The Muslim think exactly like their God think. Because who in their right mind would say God intended for a man to worship a calf? So God is the intention of God for a man to worship a calf. Or God give men free will and man choose to do what they choose to do. And then God react in real time to what they do, so that they can see God's reaction to what they do. They see how God feel regarding what they do. Because God could eternally be grieved with something that you're going to do, but you haven't done it yet. So he cannot manifest his true feeling to unless he manifests it in real time. When it comes into real time, then man will see how God feel about what they did. But this idiot is actually say worshiping the calf is God's intention to worship a calf, for you to worship a calf. Wow. What a donkey. What a donkey. And whosoever disobey Allah and his messenger, he surely strays off a manifest stray. So this is Surah 33, verse 36. So one verse is saying that whoever disobey Allah and his messenger, he surely strays. But one verse is saying that Allah leads astray whom he will and guides whom he will. So because they have this stupid concept in their mind that is their God who lead people astray and have total when I say God control the universe, but he give man control over his own action. God does not dictate man's action. God gave man that free will to dictate his own action. Even though God have control over the universe, he give control to man over certain aspect of life. So God did not intend for man to worship a calf. God gave you his intentions. What God intend for you to do is to follow his laws. But does that mean that God didn't know that you would not follow his law? But God give you his law to follow, and that's what he wants you to do. That's what he wants you to do. He wants you to follow his law. Even though he know you would not follow his law, he still give you his law, because there's a punishment that comes with not following his law. But he's not the one who choosing for you whether you follow his laws or not. According to Islam, Allah is the one who chooses for you. Allah is the one who chooses for you. About the evil one, it is decreed that whoever turn to him for friendship, he will be lead astray. He will guide him to the penalty of the fire. So whoever turn to the evil one for friendship, he will be led astray. Doesn't make no sense. Because Allah is saying that he's the one who lead you astray. But so who will lead you to turn to the evil one? So if he's the one who lead you astray, who lead you to turn to the evil one? Crazy, man. These Muslim are crazy. Muhammadan. Why them so crazy, man? Why them so crazy, man? Them worship Satan. Them worship Satan. Disrespect the God of creation. Why them so crazy, man? Crazy, man. Muhammad was a lazy man. That's why he robbed for his neighbor with a sword in his hand. Muhammad was a lazy man. A man from Satan.
I could turn the same argument and flip it on its head against you.
Okay.
Because I could say, well, God is pleased by this. That tells me, what does pleased imply?
Yes.
Pleased, if you're pleased by something, that implies you've got some sort of benefit from something. God gets benefits.
Yeah.
God gets benefit from something that a human has done.
No.
That's the implication.
No. Look,
I wouldn't even use the please. I would use the part where say God is displeased against him. Because if he's saying that Allah is displeased against something that you do, but God cannot regret, in a sense, something that happened without you saying that God doesn't have full knowledge of things. That is stupid. If God is angry with someone, why is he angry if he have full knowledge of things? According to my understanding, he's angry from eternity. He knows he will be angry and he have his anger for what you're about to do. But his anger is manifested in real time when you do what you did. When you do what he did, your anger is manifested in real time. And his anger is manifested and his sadness is manifested in real time. So when he says God regret taking Saul as king, God was sad that he take Saul as a king. And does it mean that God didn't have knowledge that he would be sad? Yes, he do. He have the knowledge from eternity that he would be sad and possibly feel that sadness from eternity. And possibly he was feeling that sadness, sadness from eternity, and then it was manifested in real time so that man could see it and understand it. Craziness of Islam. So anyway, I want to say peace out, man. And our praises to the God who is above all God, the God who gives us wisdom to decipher things and to make sense of sensible things and to make nonsense of things that are nonsense. And Islam is nothing but nonsense. So I say peace out, man, and God bless you all, man.